So in Tolkien's writer's journey, when he initially began writing The Lord of the Rings, he didn't have an outline or an extended overlay of what the story was going to be about, right? He initially just started writing a sequel to his previous release, which was proven to be a success, and that of The Hobbit. And his publisher had requested that his readership would be hungry for another Hobbit story. But that same year, in September, Tolkien began writing what he tentatively called the second Hobbit story, which eventually became The Lord of the Rings. And in that process, he started experimenting with names, ideas, and started developing them. Example number one is that of one of the main characters of Strider, right, which is also Aragorn. The origins of that character was in a sketch idea of a character by the name of Trotter, right? That was what Tolkien originally began sketching out, this figure of Trotter. Now, he wasn't sure if this was going to be an elf or a hobbit or a different kind of a creature within the world of Middle-earth. But as he started digging more and more into the backstory of words, which is what he was fascinated with, eventually it morphed into the character of Strider, which he determined that his role will be the role of a man of Middle-earth, which later on becomes Aragorn and eventually becomes the king. So in this writer's example, in the example of Tolkien, we can see that even great literary geniuses don't have it all figured out, right? They begin with an idea, they explore it, they develop it, they edit and re-edit until eventually something comes about. Now, an interesting point that Tom Shippey, one of the most prominent scholars of the Tolkien legendarium, this is something that he points out. Tom Shippey is that that usually someone begins with an inspirational idea, and then they can that inspiration dims down, and then they have to kind of like figure out how to develop this idea further that started off as a spark or a flame of inspiration. But in other cases, as in the case of Tolkien, he started out with just some rough sketches, some ideas, as in the example where he just decided to use the name Trotter, right? Nothing inspirational, nothing great, but it was a starting point, right? But then, as he began exploring these ideas, inspiration came, right? So that's really interesting. What I think the relevance of that, idea that Tom Shippey points out is that, us too in the real world, we may not be inspired all the time, right? But we have ideas, sketches that we can put into some kind of a format and then develop them, right? Develop them, improve them, edit them, as in the case of what I'm currently doing with this YouTube channel, right? I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I am figuring it out in the process of doing it, right? And that in itself brings about inspiration. So whenever, I come up with a micro element that I could improve the channel, that is very rewarding, right? And if I continue to do that, eventually I will have something developed that is formatted, properly in whatever way, shape, or form that it will eventually unfold into, and something, that is, not only presentable, but compatible with the culture that is trying to enter into, whatever that may be, right? So in conclusion, whether one is trying to, discover the will of the, greater powers of the universe, or one is trying to find our, place in this world. One of the ways, as we explored by looking at Tolkien's case, is by just simply drawing out sketches and improving them, on a daily basis, and eventually something grows from it, as it did for Tolkien when he started off with some basic sketches and developed that further and further, and 12 years later he completed his magnum opus of The Lord of the Rings. So we don't have to have everything figured out on day one, right? We just have to show up, which is half the work, and then, draw some sketches, some sketch ideas, and see what micro elements we can improve, and that in itself will draw inspiration as to what the next step is in our journey, whether it's a writer's journey or a musician's journey, or a journey of, in the world of ministry or business, or whatever area it is that each individual will find interest in.